My fellow human beings of Earth, listen to me carefully. If you claim to be black, if you claim to be African American, if you claim to be Puerto Rican, you are claiming ties to a status. A status is tied to the creator of the status. In this situation, we're talking about the United States government. They control what they create. If you claim a nationality, if you claim to be African, you're claiming ties to a land. If you claim to be American, you're claiming ties to a land. If you claim to be Boricua, you are claiming ties to a land. No one owns a land, and contrary to what you may believe. Now, if you are claiming the status, you are claiming the ties to the government, and they control what they create, meaning they can kill you, they can incarcerate you, they can do whatever they want to what they create. So please, know thyself.
On the streets in certain New York City neighborhoods, ask about police quotas for arrests and summonses, and this is what you often hear.
There's a quota system. There always has been, and there always will be until someone changes it.
Y'all see that? That's what they targeted.
Yeah, take a seat right here, guys. And front row is set.
These NYPD officers, all currently on the job, say it's true. They've all worked the streets, the subways, and patrolled housing developments.
The department says there are no quotas.
Well, I could tell you, I'm a police officer. There are quotas in the NYPD.
Are they lying?
Absolutely. It's illegal for them to admit it.
They come from different precincts, largely minority neighborhoods in Brooklyn or the Bronx, but their stories are remarkably similar.
They tell you this to your face. Black Hispanics between 14 to 21. They must get stopped.
They're plaintiffs in a federal class action lawsuit that claims the NYPD is violating a 2010 state ban on quotas, speaking out together for the first time.
At the end of the month, these officers, whoever don't have that arrest or those few summonses, they're pressured to find something. You might not see nothing. You're supposed to be visible. You might not see anything, but you go hunting, like bounty hunting for an arrest. Locking up some old guy, some homeless guy, finding somebody who's riding their bicycle on the sidewalk, who's spitting, and you bring him in.
The problem is when you go hunting, when you put any type of numbers on a police officer to perform, we are going to go to the most vulnerable.
The most vulnerable?
Of course. We're going to go to LGBT community. We're going to go to the black community. We're going to go to those people that have no vote, that have no power. If we start doing what we're doing in Midtown Manhattan, a phone call to the mayor's office is going to be made. That's going to be the end of it.
We're the predators, they're the prey. The worst thing you can have is a police officer that needs an arrest for the month.
So you're all minorities. How does that make you feel?
It's horrible.
This is something coming from the top that trickles its way down, and this is why we're all here today.
We first interviewed Officer Edwin Raymond last month. He says he's been recording conversations with NYPD officials for the past 2 years in an effort to prove alleged quotas and retaliation against cops who don't rack up numbers.
They're breaking the law.
Raymond's claims elicited this expletive from the police commissioner.
Bullshit. Bullshit is my response to that.
The commissioner insists his policies are focused on the quality of arrests and summonses, not the quantity. The officer's attorney.
Is the commissioner lying?
Yes. Commissioner Bratton is lying.
How can you prove this?
I can prove it with testimony, with recordings, with documents.
All they want us to do is go out there and lock them up. They told us it's easier to get numbers out here because you work in this type of community.
Are you arresting for stuff that you shouldn't be arresting for?
Well, that's why we're here. We don't do it. We refuse, and because of that, we are retaliated against.
Because you're not harassing people, you're being punished. You know? And it doesn't make for a great work environment because they want you to harass people.
The lawsuit claims minority officers are punished more severely than white cops for failing to meet quotas. The city denies it.
And the community are suffering the most.
Because?
Because the pressure, because the quota. Because the police department is like a whore pretending to be a lady. That's what they are.
Are you worried? You know, this is a big step to come forward like this.
It's not easy. It's not easy. We are the enemies. We are the people that nobody talk to. The culture of the department, we are the rats. That's how they call us. We are the rats that speak out. It takes a lot of guts from a rat to stand where we stand, knowing that our career are basically over the second we speak against such a mafia. Because the police department is a mafia. It's a big organized mafia.
Because of the Legislative Act of February 21st, 1871, Washington, D.C. is not a state, but a jurisdiction called the District of Columbia. The evidence for this fact can be found in the 41st Congress, Session 3, Chapter 62, 1871, when they state, "An act to provide a government for the District of Columbia, be it enacted by the Senate and House of Representatives of the United States and Congress assembled, that part of the territory of the United States included within the limits of the District of Columbia be, and the same is hereby created into a government by the name of the District of Columbia, by which name is hereby constituted a body corporate for municipal purposes, and may be contract and be contracted with, sue and be sued." In short, the 50 states are separate from the jurisdictional lands of the District of Columbia. This district is a corporation called the United States of America. Contrary to what you were taught in school, the United States is not a country. It is a corporation like IBM, General Motors, or Microsoft. This corporation has legal jurisdiction to do business and create franchises. Consider the other 50 states as franchises for the parent company of the United States of America. This is why we have a president and not a king or queen. Only kings or queens can rule countries. Legally, a president cannot rule over a country, but can make decisions on behalf of the king or queen. In the case of the United States, that is exactly what our president does. We looked at the 14th Amendment, and we realized that this amendment was really a contract. It was an adhesion contract between the United States government and the citizenry of this country. What that meant for African Americans was this. It meant that the old days of slave ownership, where a white male owns a slave on a plantation, was done away with. And what the owners who owned those slaves did was transfer their property, which were the slaves, from the slave owner to the United States government under the 14th Amendment. And if you recall, when you study history, you'll know that many of the southern states and those slave owners were compensated for transferring their property over to the United States government. So what that means for black folks is this, is that you are not free, you are what is called emancipated. And an emancipation is not freedom. Emancipation is the transfer of property from one owner to another owner.